Today we are going to have a look at the latest lens from Zhongyi. It's the Mitakon Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 Mark III lens. Good morning, Kiola everyone. So I remember a couple of years ago, the first time I heard of the name Zhongyi and also Mitakon, it was when I reviewed the Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 Mark II lens. So that was a lens for the specially designed for the Sony E-mount. I had to play with it for a while and I really liked the lens. You have a very affordable and ultra fast 50mm lens, and the picture quality is actually pretty decent despite its very affordable price. Unfortunately, after that I sold my Sony A7, so I couldn't really have that lens myself. So I have been keep thinking about the lens for quite a while until recently Zhongyi contacted me and told me about the new Mark III Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 lens, and they told me that it's going to be available in the Nikon Z mount and also the Canon RF mount, and I was really excited. And here you are. This is a pre-production sample of the new Mitakon 50mm f0.95 Mark II Speedmaster lens. Pretty long lens. So let's start the review by talking about the body design and the build quality of the lens first. So when I'm recording this video, the lens has been kind of announced, but there's no full detail and the full announcement is not there yet. So a problem that usually faced with when reviewing a pre-release product is that you don't really have the full information sometimes. So I have been talking to the guy from Zhongyi quite a bit, so I do get quite a bit of information from the lens. From what I was being told, the optics in this Mark III is new. It's different to the one before, and that makes it have better image quality. It has better lens flare resistance, and also the lens is also a little bit shorter than the previous version as well. So have a look at the lens mounted on the Z6. You can see it's not really a very big lens. Consider this is a 0.95 lens. It's a very fast lens, but the size is still pretty reasonably compact, and when mounted on the Z6 it actually feels very balanced. It's definitely not a light lens. It feels quite dense, but probably thanks to the reasonably large grip on the Z6, it just feels very balanced when I'm holding it. The aperture ring is right at the front of the lens. Unfortunately, it is also a declicked one. I have mentioned it many times in my previous review. I am more a photographer, so I would really like aperture ring that has click. Having said that, the aperture ring is very smooth. When you are moving it, it just feels fantastic. And the travel from the maximum aperture 0.95 to the smallest aperture f16 is just around 90 degrees, and there is a mark on pretty much every stop. So you have a mark on 0.95 and then 1.4, 2, f2.8, f4, f5.6, f8, and then it doesn't have one for f11, but then it will have one on the f16. So it's still pretty easy to get a precise aperture value when you are using this lens. Behind the aperture ring, you have the manual focus ring. The manual focus ring is also super buttery smooth. It feels very good when you are turning the manual focus ring. And it also has a very long travel as well. So from the minimum focus distance 0.5 meter all the way to infinity, the travel is around 350 degrees or so. So almost a full circle from the minimum focus distance to the maximum focus distance. So this is quite necessary because of the 0.95 super fast aperture that gives you a very shallow depth of field. So the very mega long travel that allow you to have precise focus when you are shooting at the maximum aperture. The lens has a 67mm front filter thread, so because of its 0.95 maximum aperture. If you are planning to do quite a bit of shooting on the bright sunny day using the maximum aperture, then you'll probably need to pick up a CPL filter or ND filter so you won't overexpose your photo. The lens also comes with a lens hood as well, but because this one is a pre-production sample, so the manufacturer told me that they are still finalizing the lens hood design, so the lens hood that I received is not the final one, so I'm not going to talk about that in this video. So overall, I think the quality of the lens is absolutely fantastic. Everything fit together very well, and there's not much thing that I can complain about. Even the fonts they print on the lens, I really like it. I think it looks beautiful. So it may not be really a Leica quality lens yet, but the price they are charging is a lot less than a Leica lens. So I think anyone pick up this lens will be pretty happy with the build quality. Now, since this Mitakon 50mm f/0.95 lens is a manual focus lens, and if you're wondering how hard is it to do manual focus on a 0.95 lens, I can tell you it's actually pretty easy with a mirrorless camera, because with the electron viewfinder you have peaking, and also one thing very important is that you can zoom in the scene when you are focusing. So for example, on my Z6, I have programmed it so that I have the top button here as a zoom in button, and then the bottom button here as the peaking button. So when I'm shooting with the manual focus lens, I can easily just zoom in, and then I can focus very quickly and very precisely as well. With all the photos I have shot so far at 0.95, I would say at least 90% of photos are actually perfectly in focus. It's actually not that hard to get very sharp photos as long as your subject and yourself are both not moving. If you are shooting a moving target, of course, this is a completely different story. Today's weather is actually excellent after being raining and cloudy for a couple of days. So let me go and take some more photos, and then we can talk about the image quality and show you some more photo samples when back to my home. Now we're back to my office, and it's time to talk about the image quality of this Mitakon Speedmaster 50mm f/0.95 Mark III lens. So for such a fast lens, you probably wouldn't expect the image sharpness to be very good, at least not at the maximum aperture f/0.95. But surprisingly, the image sharpness is actually very good. At least the center sharpness. Look at the center at 0.95. The sharpness is actually very good. It's a lot better than I would expect it. Definitely more than usable. Even if you start moving to the edge and corner, the image sharpness still remains pretty good all the way up to almost the extreme corner. The last 10% or so, the extreme corner is pretty soft. Even if you stop down the last 10% or so, it remains not very sharp at all. But as long as you don't really care about very edges or very corner of the frame, then you only need to stop down to f2, then you can get very good edge and corner sharpness already. So overall, I'm definitely very impressed by how sharp this ultra fast lens is. In terms of the distortion, there is a little bit of distortion with the photos captured by this lens, but the amount is quite small, and I'm pretty sure you wouldn't notice it when you are just taking everyday photos. Vignetting is noticeable at maximum aperture f/0.95, but consider this is a f/0.95 lens with a 67mm front filter thread, while some other lenses like the one I just reviewed recently, the Panasonic Lumix S Pro 51.4, which is only a 1.4 lens but has a 77mm front filter thread, or the Sigma Art lens, also the 51.4, also has a 77mm front filter thread. So this is a much faster lens, but it has quite a bit smaller front filter thread, and Consider all this, I think they did quite a good job in controlling the overall vignetting. If you stop down to around f2, then most of the vignetting will have pretty much disappeared. For such a fast lens, the bokeh, or how the lens render the out of focus area, is probably one of the most important property of this lens. And the Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 Mark III lens does render the bokeh very beautifully. Not only you can easily melt the background using the super fast f0.95 aperture, but even when you are not completely melting the background, the bokeh itself is also very beautiful. It's very round and very smooth. The edges, you don't see those nervous highlight near the edges. Now, if you are taking photo at night and you have some point light source in the far background, and the bokeh does look a little bit funny when you are shooting at the maximum aperture, there's a little bit of edge, like a galaxy thing at the edge that will extend from the two sides of the bokeh, and that would disappear if you stop down the lens a little bit, maybe around f1.4 or so. Then the bokeh back to a more typical normal roundish style bokeh. But yeah, if you shoot at maximum aperture, then you have that funny thing extended it. So maybe you can consider that as the special character of this lens. Zhongyi claimed that this Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 Mark III has improved flare resistance. I don't have the Mark II or the original one to compare with it, so I can't really tell how much it has improved. But I do notice if you are shooting at the maximum aperture and you are pointing directly into the sun, you could still get a bit of lens flare in the photos. Now, if you reduce the aperture to around f1.4, then that would dramatically reduce the lens flare. So if you are shooting into the sun and if you don't like to have lens flare, then just reduce the aperture a little bit to around f1.4, which is probably something you need to do anyway. If you're shooting in the sun, you probably overexpose the whole photo. But the lens flare only become quite noticeable when I'm shooting directly into the sun or some very strong light source. When I'm taking other photos, I rarely notice any noticeable lens flare issue at all. And also remember, I mentioned before, because this is a pre-production copy and I don't have a proper lens hood that comes with the lens. So yeah, a proper lens hood would definitely help reduce the lens flare as well. So far, everything we talk about in terms of the image quality, it either meet my expectation or exceeded my expectation. But if there's one weakness of this lens in terms of image quality, it would be the chromatic aberration. Quite a few photos I shot, especially when it's high contrast, I do see quite a bit of color fringing. This is especially more noticeable when I'm shooting at the maximum aperture f0.95. So look at some of the image sample here. You can definitely see the color fringing in this photo. But to be fair, it is actually quite common for a lot of fast lens to have quite a bit of color fringing, especially when you are shooting at the maximum aperture. And by fast lens, I only mean the f1.4 lens. A lot of the f1.4 lens I have pretty noticeable color fringing. So this f0.95 lens have probably similar amount of color fringing as some of my other lenses. Definitely an area that can be improved. But on the other hand, if you're happy to load the photo into Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever software you like to use, you can easily remove most of the color fringing by pressing a few buttons. When I first received the lens, I put up a post on Facebook and asking you guys what sort of thing you want to see and want me to test for you. And some people suggest me to compare it with the Nikon 50mm f1.2 AIS lens. And I just happen to have the lens as well, which is this one here. So I did a bit of testing comparing the two lenses, and here are my results. This is a photo that I shot with the Mitakon at f0.95, and this one was shot at f1.2, so both shot at the maximum aperture. Now, if you zoom in, then you can see, first thing, the Mitakon is definitely a lot sharper than the Nikon 50mm f1.2, even though the Nikon is at f1.2 and the Mitakon is at f0.95. The Mitakon is definitely quite a lot sharper. And if you move on to look at the bokeh, and there is a huge difference between the bokeh of these two lenses. The Mitakon, as I said before, it looks very smooth and quite dreamy, and the Nikon, on the other hand, you see the edges is there's a very noticeable halo ring around the bokeh, so it does look quite nervous. So it depends on what sort of bokeh you like. Bokeh is quite a subjective thing, so different people prefer different kind of bokeh. But I think most people would probably prefer the Mitakon because the bokeh from the Mitakon is just a lot smoother, while the bokeh from the Nikon is quite a bit more nervous. And I also stopped down both lenses a little bit, both at f2, and you can look at these two photos side by side. And once again, you can see the Mitakon render the bokeh just a lot smoother, and the Nikon, there is a lot of very nervous highlight around all the bokeh. So yeah, depends on what you like. Personally, I actually like both. It depends on what sort of style, artistic style I like. Like normally, I think I like the Mitakon one, but if I'm shooting black and white, sometimes I may like the Nikon a little bit more. And if you like sunbursts, you can easily get sunbursts by stopping down the lens to around f4 onwards. Then you can get a lot of sunbursts. And some people ask me about the light transmission. I actually don't know what is the proper way to test the light transmission. I definitely don't have any tools to test it properly. But I can say when I changed the aperture from f1.4 to f0.95, the shutter speed can be increased by around between 1/3 stop to half stop. So I don't exactly gain like 1 stop of shutter speed, but it's probably around half of that. So yep, this is what I found in terms of the light transmission. So now I have been using the Mitakon Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 Mark III lens for about 2 weeks or so now. I carry it with me almost every day in the last 2 weeks or so, and I really enjoy shooting with this lens. This is not a perfect lens by any means. There is quite a bit of lens flare still, and there is quite a bit of color fringing, but sometimes you don't really need a perfect lens to make it a very enjoyable and a fun lens. The ultra fast f0.95 aperture allow me to create some very nice, cool looking photo that I couldn't create even using a 50mm f1.4 lens. Manual focus with this lens is very fun and very easy thanks to the very solidly built body and also the buttery smooth manual focus ring. So it's just very fun when you are just turning the manual focus ring and just try to get the image in focus. And the success rate is also very high thanks to the electronic viewfinder and also all those aids like zoom in and peaking. It just make it very easy to get the precise focus even when you are shooting at the maximum aperture. And I also really like the fact that even though this is an f0.95 lens, the size and the weight of the lens is not too excessive. So as I said, I pretty much carry with me every day. And if this is a heavy lens, I probably wouldn't carry with me pretty much every day. Even some days I'm not actually planning to take any photos. So if you are looking at buying an ultra fast lens for your camera, or you want to create some dreamy portrait shots, or you just want a lens that allow you to capture photo when you're shooting under very low light condition, then you definitely should check out this Mitakon Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 Mark III lens. Thank you very much for watching this review. If you have any comment or questions about this Speedmaster 50mm f0.95 lens, feel free to leave a comment below and I will try to answer all your questions and comments. Thanks again for watching this video and I will see you next time.